Hello and welcome to the third and the Don Football Show. I am Joe. With me is Cecil, as always, here to recap Week 15 of the NFL season, preview Week 16. First of all, Cecil, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm excellent. Another big Bengals win. Fantasy playoffs are going on right now. I'm in some neck and neck battles, so you know, things could be worse. I mean, I'm not dominating any leagues right now to the second round, so we'll see where things go after this weekend.
Absolutely. Some fantasy playoff matchups for myself. It'll be fun to watch the second round of all these games going on. But let's go. Let's go into our recap of Week 15, Cecil. Let's start it off with the 49ers and Seahawks on Thursday night. The 49ers win 21-13. We had mentioned 49ers, doesn't really matter who's playing quarterback. Brock Purdy looks pretty good. Kyle Shanahan designed some cool plays for him to get the ball to George Kittle specifically. Kittle had 93 yards, 2 touchdowns. So just a really good game plan for them. And the Seahawks have really faded in the last couple of weeks. It seems like they've kind of lost some of their luster. The whole team aspect is kind of just faded a little bit. And Tyler Lockett's now out, so they're a team that needs to get back to it if they want to make the playoffs.
And the Seahawks really have gone down a lot in the last couple weeks. I think that's a big factor in this. But honest, I mean, is it just me, or does this offense look better with Brock Purdy? Honestly, I think it does. I mean, under Jimmy G, it looks like they're way more conservative. For Brock Purdy, they're opening up more. Maybe that's just an evolution of the offense with the players they have. But I think a little has to do with Brock Purdy and what he brings to the table. Again, early it's 2 games. One's against a very bad Tampa team, and one's against Seahawks who are also not doing. But I mean, if he just plays at half the level he's played at in the last 2 games, 49ers will be in really good shape come playoff time. So if they get it done pretty handily in this game, the Seahawks, I mean, they just can't stop anything on defense anymore. I mean, they're just letting people run all around them. And the 49ers, just like you do on most teams, got a lot of pressure on Geno Smith and just caught of, missed time throws and things of that nature. They weren't able to going on the big deep the time in the pocket.
Yeah, Cease, I think a key point here too. Brock Purdy, I think, has shown that he's willing to make the throws that maybe Jimmy Garoppolo is not. Jimmy Garoppolo has been criticized for not wanting to take risks and not wanting to put the ball in danger, and that sometimes can limit you from making plays. And Brock Purdy is doing that for the 49ers. So, again, we mentioned it a couple weeks ago. It's just not that much of a drop-off when Kyle Shanahan can go produced with guys like Nick Mullins and C.J. Beathard in the past. The offense is designed well. They have enough playmakers around them. The defense is good. If you believed in the 49ers before, like I know you did, you should not be feeling any less interested in the 49ers at the end of this year. All right, let's go to Saturday games. We have the Colts and the Vikings. The Colts go up to a 33-0 lead, and they blow the biggest lead in NFL history. It could only be Matt Ryan at quarterback doing this. Jeff Saturday, obviously being the coach, has not really gone that well after one good win against the Raiders. The Vikings come storming back, and Kirk Cousins has a miraculous second half, honestly. 460 yards, 4 touchdowns for him. This was a tale of two halves. It was a crazy game. It was one that I thought about turning off, and I mean, I'm glad I didn't, because holy cow, this is something that I just never thought I'd see. I mean, the Vikings first half thought it was going to be, oh, Vikings are frauds, Vikings are frauds, Vikings are frauds, but second half, I mean, they might still be frauds because they put themselves in such a bad position, but they come back and win this game. That's the most incredible thing I think I've almost ever seen.
Kings are still frauds, regardless. To be honest, if you have to basically pull off the biggest comeback in NFL history against this Colts team, who literally chats the stat sheet here. Let's be honest, the Colts offense wasn't doing anything. It was all turnovers, it was special teams, all that stuff. So it's impressive to come back from that far down. But at the same time, they literally went functional offense in this game. So still frauds. If it was any other team like NFL, like you saw, they got blown out teams come back at all. So props to them. Maybe they learned something in this, but ultimately, I mean, the same bugaboos kind of happened. The offense is good, isn't that great, and they for them. But this Colts, um, a lot of this Jeff Saturday. I don't know why they thought it would really get better because they're not amazing by any means. They've got some players in places, and their offense is as dysfunctional as it was under Frank Wright. And the problem is they have a quarterback who really is immobile at this point in his career. His arm strength is really lacking. It's just everything about Matt Ryan's really regressed terribly. The offensive line played a little better for Jeff Saturday, but that doesn't matter if your quarterback. This Colts team Saturday, because it wasn't even that, they went ultra conservative. The reality didn't convert a third down to save his life in that second half. Like, they did nothing on offense, just like Matt Ryan did in that Super Bowl. It's a very different team, very different situation, a very different Matt Ryan. But it was the same reality. At the end of the day, all they really had to do was score another touchdown and it would have been over. You could pull any of that off. So the Colts are a dumpster fire of a team. They need to find a quarterback. They need to find one quick because they have a great running back in Jonathan Taylor. They've had some really good pieces on the offensive line still. Nelson's going to be there for the long haul. They've got Ryan Kelly's been a good pro for the last couple of years. They have pieces on all that's elite. They get a quarterback maybe, in a very, as we see, vulnerable AFC South. They could win some games. When it comes to the Vikings, it's same old, same old. I mean, with the updates we're getting from the Eagles, depending on what happens with Jalen Hurts and the Eagles over the next couple of weeks, the Vikings might sneak into the number one seed, which will absolutely probably the luckiest thing I would ever see, and the true never be able to defraud the NFL quite like the Minnesota Vikings if they manage to get this number one seed. But yeah, that's my rant. Vikings still frauds for them to get the year, but ultimately they got a lot of problems. And if they can feel good about getting the win in the end, but come Monday, the tail of the tape, they go over that and see what the hell happened that they had to come up and make a record-breaking comeback in order to win this game.
Yeah, it was kind of a fun game if you were watching along on Twitter because first half you got the jokes about being the frauds, second half you got the what the heck is happening. I mean, it was pretty fun in that regard at least. The Colts, as you mentioned, just a dumpster fire at this point. Have to reset this offseason. Maybe new GM, obviously probably new coach. Figure out what this quarterback strategy is going to be moving forward. Just a lot of things to figure out for them and the Vikings. As you said, getting a number one seed would be really cool. Don't know if they're going to be able to do it. They've got to not play like they did in the first half against the Colts to do that. AFC North on Saturday, we had the Cleveland Browns beating the Baltimore Ravens 13-3. This game was pretty boring overall. Both offenses did not really play well. For the Ravens, Tyler Huntley was in at quarterback, and J.K. Dobbins had some big runs, but they couldn't convert into touchdowns, and that's what cost them because they only scored 3 points.
Yeah.
Just a bad performance by the Ravens. The Browns get the win. It hurts Ravens' chances of being a division winner, but at the same time, they're probably still in the playoffs. They just have a lot to figure out now, Cease.
Yeah, I mean, this was an absolute dumpster fire game, too. Let's be honest. Barely any offense. I mean, the Ravens, that was rough to watch. I get they don't know Lamar Jackson, but, I mean, Tyler Huntley has played at times in a similar system. He kind of plays the same way, and they could not do a thing on offense. They're pretty much – I'm starting to believe that half their offense is just because Justin Tucker can almost hit 60-yard field goals. That's it. I mean, that's a heck of an advantage. I mean, we've never really thought about it because we thought about, how electric Lamar is and how he's going to do these big plays and everything. But the reality of this year is they have Justin Tucker hitting, 50-plus field goals consistently to get this team on the board and win in these close games because we'll see what happens against Atlanta this week with Lamar, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But, I mean, I'm not a believer in this Ravens team at all right now. I mean, that was an abysmal game. They put together a string of abysmal games and just absolute meltdowns in the Jaguars game. I'll give them that one. Trevor Lawrence, was great. But we're talking about the Broncos game. We're talking about the Panthers game. like we're just talking about some of the worst teams in the NFL, and the Ravens can barely beat them. And it's even the fourth quarter, it's not convincing. They finally score a touchdown, and that, they barely beat Pittsburgh with their backup, Mitch Trubisky in there. It's a mess. I need to see a lot from the Ravens over the next couple weeks if they really want to make me believe they're going to win a playoff game in a very tough AFC. Because right now they're going to be the wild card. Maybe they could hopefully they get lucky that they're the 5 seed, 4 seed, so however the team in the AFC South that decides they're going to want to win this thing, or the Titans decide to wake up, or the Jaguars keep surging, probably can win that game. But I mean, at this point, I'm not sure that I can really say I feel good about their chances in the wild card round.
I can't either the way they're playing. It's been weird because we thought last year that the injuries were holding them back, and they did, and they played well despite that. They need to get Lamar Jackson healthy. They need to figure out this offense and get things moving for the playoffs. Even if they don't, they need to finish this season strong. Even if they have nothing to play for in the final weeks, if it's set that they're going to be the 5 seed, as you said, they need to find a way to get this thing going. J.K. Dobbins getting healthier will be helping them. But other than that, the Ravens have looked really bad. Props to the Browns for winning this game, but not a game you wanted to watch. Saturday night, we had one of the more entertaining games of the NFL season. It was Buffalo Bills and Miami Dolphins. This game had some snow. It was really cold weather. The Bills win 32-29. They go up 21-13 at the half. The Dolphins come storming back in the third quarter, score 13 straight, and then the Bills come back and win the game 32-29. It was a good game from Josh Allen, 304 yards, 4 touchdowns. Tua also had a pretty good game. Jalen Waddle had a pretty good game. Tyreek Hill had a pretty good game. It was a great NFL game. It was probably one of the great games I've seen over the last couple of weeks, and I think it shows that the Dolphins got their teeth kicked in against the Chargers last week. They come back and play the Bills this tough. A lot to be hopeful for in the next couple of weeks here of clinching a playoff spot, possibly being a tough team to play in the playoffs, maybe getting that 5 seed, as you mentioned, Cease, that could really, really pay off. And then the Bills, we know they're ultra talented. They've had their ups and downs this year, but you still don't want to face them. They're still probably one of the most balanced teams in the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it really was a great game. And I think the biggest thing I'm proud of in this isn't just that the Dolphins played the Bills close, is that they when they can't pass the ball a billion times. They really pounded the rock with Raheem Mostert most of the game, which I'm really proud of. It's something they've gotten away from a lot during this season, is they just let Tua throw the ball around and Tyreek Hill making a bunch of plays, and it works a lot of the time, but it's winter football. We're December, January football. It's a little different. The elements are harder. It's harder to throw the ball way downfield, and the injuries pile up, and Tyreek's not 100% right now. So they got to have times where somebody else can make plays, and the run game can fly. So they really did that very well in this game. It really helped, I think, overall with their offensive attack, and it makes them, two-dimensional. Which is huge because you don't want somebody to just key in on Tua, especially a team with a good pass rushing offense, because they're going to get in the backfield and hit Tua a bunch, which nobody wants. So I'm really impressed by the Dolphins, not by just how well they played against the Bills, but ultimately that we were able to do it in a way we hadn't seen in a couple games from them. So good for them. Way to hang in tough. A very, very hostile, crowd, hostile weather, you name it. They played really well, and both super close to the Buffalo Bills. They just lose in this one.
Yeah, like I said, just a really good game. And you mentioned there's some hostile crowd. They actually had Bills fans throwing ice balls at the Dolphins bench, which actually delayed a little bit of the game and stuff. So they proved they can play in the cold weather. I'm really proud of what the Dolphins did there. And the Bills, again, they're looking for that number 1 seed. They're looking to be the juggernaut who can maybe go all the way to the AFC Championship game, maybe the Super Bowl, and maybe win it all. Sunday games, we'll start off with the Jaguars beating the Cowboys 40-34. They were down quite a bit in this game at the half, 21-7. I think the Cowboys scored the first touchdown in the second half too and made it 27-7. And they come storming back. Trevor Lawrence showing he's that guy, showing that maybe we shouldn't call people busts after playing for Urban Meyer, and threw for 318 yards, 4 touchdowns. Led the comeback. They're able to score a touchdown in overtime to get the win. It was actually a pick 6. what they scored on. For any Dak haters out there, the ball was right in Noah Brown's hands. It bounced off his hands into Rayshon Jenkins' hands. He returned it for a touchdown. That one was not on Dak, especially, the loss wasn't on your quarterback when you score 34 points. This defense just really hasn't panned out the way they really thought, or at least the way they would have thought things would have gone earlier in the year. And I think instead of discrediting the Cowboys defense here, I'm just going to say Trevor Lawrence is that generational prospect that we thought. He made some big time throws in this game. And he can be that guy moving forward as he gets more support. We know next year they got Calvin Ridley coming in, but they're going to keep on supporting him in the next couple of years. That'll be really, really helpful for him. And for right now, playoff hope's still alive, Cease.
I mean, they really are. I mean, we gave up on the Jaguars after suddenly thinking to be for real, and then they fell to the earth. And now, the Titans are in a downward spiral right now. And, I mean, the Jaguars are pulling off some games, and Trevor Lawrence is playing really well. I mean, that's huge. We're talking a league right now. When he saw it today, there's no shame. Away game. I'm sure they're really upset because of what would to maybe play the division and one of the top seeds if they win this one. But a lot of this isn't on Dak. I mean, Dak. They scored plenty of points. I don't even. It was a really hard-fought game. Ran out of time. That's simple. The one that is concerning about the Cowboys' defense is they've only gotten one sack in the last game, which is not good, obviously, by any metric. Quarterback, that's what was making this Cowboys defense thrive. Obviously, I think some teams are keying in a little bit. They were scheming it, and Micah Parsons is now not there anymore. They need in fast. This Cowboys team, everybody in the NFL this year, everyone's beatable. No real teams. And Dak it's going to come down to who has all if somebody can make a stop, and Cowboys unfortunately just couldn't.
Yeah, they couldn't. Cease, that was a big theme in there in the second half, and they need to figure it out. Micah Parsons has gone back to playing some edge. He's been the linebacker. He's a really good piece, but they've had injuries in the secondary that have hurt him, and they need to figure things out before the playoffs if they want to end up possibly advancing, which has been obviously something that has been very frustrating for Cowboys fans the last couple of years. Next game up, the Philadelphia Eagles beat the Chicago Bears 25-20. We knew the Bears were bad. They're 3-11. They're out of playoff contention. Justin Fields played well in this game. I think that's Bears fans can feel confident heading into next year that he's the guy, and that's really cool. That's the storyline for the Bears. For the Eagles, Jalen Hurts gets injured in this game. He's got a shoulder injury. They're going to let him sit out for this week at least against the Cowboys, probably the next couple weeks because they've already clinched a playoff spot, and they may very well have the number one seed. But I think that's the right call because you need to make sure he is healthy for the playoffs. Otherwise, this offense, while Gardner Minshew could be a very good quarterback for them, it lacks that the dynamic quality that it had before when Jalen Hurts was able to throw and run the ball.
Mania. I wish to probably hold with his stat line got saved by all his rushing yards. He did not throw the ball very great. Looking as polished as it had. You should 100% rush because without him, I mean, maybe we'll be proved wrong. Gardner Minshew, but they're not a quarterback, and the magic and the uncoverability of what they've been doing, kind of a trip quarter toss. It's very hard to replicate with somebody else. So Hopefully he gets healthy for him. It's the right call. And to be healthy, and most importantly, you need your quarterback healthy in the playoffs. Because if he hurts his heart, shoulder even more, and he no shot. You got to play everybody in the playoffs. You can't really sit there and go, well, I'd rather play this guy or I'd rather play that guy. At the end of the day, you're probably going to have to play everybody. That's the chins. And I think that's what the Eagles are doing. It's the right call. There's, another valiant effort, but I mean, it's a lost season. We know one shining in, light and saving grace of this team is still good. I mean, doesn't look elite, but looks good. It's a different look at quarterback. You have a team that beat and a very weak NFC North. How we keep talking about it.
Yeah, I think this division might be one to watch next year. We might have a flip where it's the Vikings and Packers have been at the top for the last several years. It might be Lions and Bears moving forward. It's something to watch. We'll get to the Lions game here in a bit, so we'll talk about them. But yeah, good for the Bears for next year, and Eagles. Just make sure you're as healthy as possible heading into the playoffs at this point, because whether you get the number one overall seed or not, I mean, I'd rather have the quarterback healthy. The NFC South matchup we'll talk about next. New Orleans Saints beat the Atlanta Falcons 21-18. Cecil, we know both these teams are garbage. This was not a fun game. New Orleans ends up scoring 21 points. The Falcons end up coming back and scoring late in the fourth quarter to make it 18 and make it close. But really just not the greatest game. Andy Dalton threw 151 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was the best passer in the game out of him and Desmond Ridder, and that's what it was. Falcons stuck to Tyler Algier, having 17 carries for 139 yards and 1 touchdown. They tried the whole ground attack. Did not work out. If I see either of these two teams in the playoffs, I'll be very upset, Cease.
Oh, yeah. I hopefully, like you said, Tyler Algiers had an impressive game. Honestly, I mean, be the starting running next year for Atlanta. Mm-hmm. I mean, Cordell Patterson, that trade you put. Tyler Huntley has proven time in and time out throughout the season. Big plays. I mean, we're talking, that's a pretty gaudy yards per carry, 17 carry, 100 yards. I mean, should look into. And then Desmond Ridder, I'm interested to see what his teams are on it. They, we're in a zone where they just probably need to blow everything up and start from scratch.
Yeah, that might be the move because it's like I said, the Falcons are not very good, and the Saints obviously. There's some rumors that Sean Payton might come back to the Saints, but I don't think that's going to happen. But for both these teams, it's if you can't win the NFC South this year, I don't know what you're doing. I thought the Falcons were still in the more of a rebuild mode, but the Saints should probably go there as well. Next game up, we have the Lions beating the Jets 20-17. This one had Zach Wilson start in it because Mike White was injured and could not get cleared. He went to 10 different doctors to try to get cleared for contact. He could not get cleared. Zach Wilson actually looks pretty good, though. 317 yards, 2 touchdowns. He wasn't the most efficient, but he keeps him in the game and plays one of his better games of the season. And the Lions, just too much offense, man. Jared Goff has been playing really, really well. The Lions are hot. They've won 6 of their last 7 games. DeAndre Swift got in the action, 52 yards rushing. They've had a magical run here, and they beat a good defense on the road. I think you have to feel really good about the Lions right now as possibly making the playoffs.
Yeah, I think them right now as the 7th seed. I mean, they're ascending at the right time. I mean, we look at, the Commanders, the Giants. I mean, those teams right now. Just straight the Lions because they're playing well. They figured out a lot of the bugaboos they were doing, early in the year. They can't stop any quarterbacks in the NFL over the last, month and a half. So things are really going well for Dan Campbell and squad. It looks like the little things that were coming together. Not a slouch of a team. They're real. They played a lot of teams really hard. Points, not Sure, it's Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson didn't play horrible. Um, it was a decent and it give every game showed it fought game. And I mean, we talked about Dan Campbell and company were having problems closing out. They're closing them out strong, and that's NFC.
Yeah, I think the Lions making the playoffs would be one of the coolest things we've seen, given expectations, given hard knocks, given everything this year. So that'd be really cool to see. And the Jets still very much in play for that AFC. They've got a big game we're going to pick up here in a little bit against the Jaguars. Next game up, we have the Steelers beating the Panthers 24-16. Mitch Trubisky's filling in for the injured Kenny Pickett. But honestly, it was the guys who we thought would step up this year that did. Najee Harris, 86 yards and a touchdown. Deontay Johnson, 98 yards. They scored too much for the Panthers. The Panthers tried to come back in the end to make it close with a 24-16 scoreline. But honestly, the Steelers pretty much had this one in hand the whole time. They moved to 6-8 on the season. The Panthers 5-9. This really hurts the Panthers' chances of making the playoffs. If they had won this game, they'd be in pretty good shape in that NFC South, as crazy as it may have seemed after they fired Matt Rule earlier in the year, Cease.
True. I mean, the Panthers are squandering to get South. Seems to just be a race to the bottom. I don't know if they're trying to confuse each other by if they each lose. I think they'll just get a sudden death, I mean, this a football team. It seems like they figure something out for a week or two, and then they shut it down completely. It's honestly underrated. They got some pretty good guys. Ryan Burns, who's honestly absolutely down, or with there were some trade talks earlier in this year because he is a cornerstone kind of piece for a defense. So I mean, honestly, the 1-2 punch covered and back situation reminds me of the old DeAngelo Williams Johnson. But yeah, the Steelers had this one hand in hand. A lot of their more in their offense looked 27 points against a struggling team. You're probably going to win that. They looked like the best. I mean, well, too much on two teams complete tension.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll move on because, as you said, just two teams who aren't going to be contending this year, most likely at least. We'll move on to the Chiefs and the Texans. The Chiefs won 30-24, but it took overtime to do it. Texans been playing well the last couple of years. Took the Cowboys to the wire, and now they take the Chiefs all the way to the wire too. The Chiefs in overtime get a Jerick McKinnon long run to win. This was one where I think Patrick Mahomes still played really, really well. He was 36-41 completions, 336 yards, and 2 touchdowns. The Chiefs' defense is a real problem. There's something they need to clean up for next season because you can't be giving up even 24 points to the Texans without Dameon Pierce.
Yeah, and I mean, this is what I don't understand about this game. Pat Mahomes' stats were quote-unquote great. That's on the Texans. So, points spread going into this. And since play, I didn't think it would be an blowout that to play tough. Is a not like hanging 40 burgers anymore. It's doing well enough. It's scoring points. They can get to that 20, 35 range, which can beat, giving up almost 20 points a game on average. And that's a margin as well, especially when you played some lower NFL. So, I mean, they could end up getting the number C because of schedule is, and don't just say count Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs out, but it's hard. where people can just rip. Bengals need by 2 possessions, everything. So definitely some things this Chiefs team needs to clean up. I mean, I like to say they're in trouble, but they need to start putting up impressive performances. Mediocre talent. It's something I'm not seeing. I'm not seeing games. I see them kind of just lollygag close, and then Mills, just fumbles it like a complete idiot. And it's the one thing he had to do was protect the ball, and he didn't do it. And the Chiefs just barely recovered that game. So he much protect. And I mean, you lose. Is this really an elite NFL football team? Elite. They've got a great offensive-minded head. This team truly elite. Defense, I can't honestly say they are.
All right, well, there's the recap from Cecil. I apologize for the technical difficulties. We're having a little bit, I think, of internet issues, but we're giving our best shot here. Chiefs get the win. They're 11-3, also in play for the number 1 seed in the AFC, but defense is definitely going to hold them back. The next game sees the Broncos 24-15 over the Cardinals. I don't want to talk about this game, so that's all I'm going to say is that the Broncos beat the Cardinals.
Talk about here. I mean, ultimately, won against just in a bunch of hot water controversy. There's a lot around. I don't want to talk about either of these. Oh, and these teams, I don't know, they need to blow up the roster, but because the they brought in.
All right, we'll move right on to the the Patriots and Raiders. Cease. For this game, it is, I think, important just to move right to the end here. We can mention real quickly, I guess, Ramondre Stevenson, 172 yards, 1 touchdown for the Patriots. Derek Carr, decent game for him, 3 touchdowns on 231 yards passing. But the last play of the game, it is 24-24. Time is winding down. The Patriots decide to flip the ball once, which was weird, and Jacoby Myers gets the ball, and he chucks it like 20 yards backwards right into the hand of Chandler Jones, the ex-Patriot. Chandler Jones truck sticks Mac Jones, runs in, and scores a touchdown. This bonehead play by the Patriots really cost them because, it's not something we're used to seeing with Bill Belichick-led teams, is this something like that. But they were tied at the time. They did not need a touchdown. It would have been nice for them to score, but you don't want to risk the game by throwing it backwards 20 yards right into the hands of an opponent. Definitely, I mean, this weekend was a good weekend for NFL football, but this game takes the cake in terms of finishes. That was just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that was just horrible. I don't know, or just a player panicking. We can debate that all we want. There's one offensive coordinator. He shouldn't be. Never been an offensive, coach. Entire career left. Basically, just have another. That Jones has regressed. Mac Jones is frustrated. I mean, Mac Jones, it's hard to really say whether it's the answer. He's got 2 in the offense. Offensive, acumen or really trying to run up the score on people like that. It's more hard-nosed defense, and who literally does not run an offense. Doesn't make sense. It's worked out horribly for him right now. Pretty much going to find a playoff contention to the Raiders. There's another team that's kind of there. Some crazy thing right there if everything breaks. on a playoff seed because of. On a play where in reality they could have just, if that was the stupidness they were going to do, they could have just time. Or, just the Jaguars went off his ball back to Mac Jones, who can't. That stupidest thing. He should have just gone down at that point. Called it a day. There's no talk, so he never defended for the Raiders. Bad scheming, bad game planning, bad in-game decision by the player. I don't know. I think it's a combo of each. And this Patriots, they need to adapt. They need to find an offensive-minded coach who will play under Bill Belichick. And it's been Josh Daniels time and time. The curse is no one really evolves from it, gets better from it. It's kind of, if you think about it, because if Belichick's the only one who is successful out of his, he's for finding the right guys or none-minded coach and coming. Will be I'm tired. I don't think that's even remotely a question. That maybe we talk about a sort of retirement or something like that, but there's nothing ever going to happen. I wouldn't do that either. But the thing is, and they need to find who can coach quarterback or can run down Alabama right now. It's some reach. Can do it again. I'll find somebody, one of their old assistants, and give them what they nice offensive coordinators in the league, or find someone who's minded, talented, or position coach that you want to give the reins to and build an offense. Because you don't need no kids. They're always going to scheme well. They're always going to do well. But, they need to update their offense for sort of.
Yes, they do, Cecil. I'm not sure how much we got of that, but we did get the fact that you think they need some better offensive coaching heading forward, and that is 100% true. This whole Matt Patricia thing is not working. They need to find something that's going to get some offense generated, and maybe fix the quarterback situation. Maybe it's Bailey Zappi who can get things going, but they need a spark, and it's got to be something offensive coordinator or quarterback related. Next game up, we have the Chargers and the Titans. Chargers win 17-14. This game, again, another one that was kind of boring but built up at the end. The Titans score a late touchdown to tie the game at 14. Then the Chargers, with not too much time left, go down the field. Justin Herbert makes an incredible throw to Mike Williams, sets him up in field goal range. They get a field goal to win the game from Cameron Dicker. This puts the Chargers in pretty good position to make the playoffs now because they're 8-6. This is, this a couple weeks ago we weren't talking about the same situation. Now they're looking pretty good. They win 17-14 over the Titans. We mentioned the Titans have struggled in the last several weeks after such a good start. But both these teams looking like they'll be in the playoffs. So this is one of those games we might see in a couple weeks, Cease.
That's simple. Got involved in that. Well, they got up with these wins. They're on I think it's a 4-game losing streak at this point. That's huge. In December. That's going to cost. They are literally 1 game above Jacksonville, I think, at this point. Played Jacksonville again. Schedule right. It's their sleep, but now, Tanner offense, and they need to just accept that and live and die by Derrick Henry. Knock people into the next, and it's what can make them great. going into this playoffs. But they need to commit to it, and they got to stop being cute with the pass. Chargers, there were some talent in the world. Yeah, the head coach pairing's not the best. Brandon Staley's just the odds of we could put him in that next level because he's got the talent of any other quarterback in the NFL, really, but he's just not in the situation as they can make the playoffs. I think they will. I don't want to play him. I don't think any team can see be, and it's shown. So they're going to control their own destiny. I mean, put up some key, crucial wins, and they've got a lot of time.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that I do not want to see the Chargers in the playoffs. That's a team that is just very dangerous. They've had their issues with injuries and even some maybe choke jobs in the past. It's just not but I think overall the talent on the team has been good, and just I don't want to see Justin Herbert make those throws against my team. So I'm with you on that one. Move on to the Cincinnati Bengals beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 34-23. This was a game of a terrible start by Cincinnati, and they come back and get the win in the second half. They had some key defensive plays, key special teams plays that helped them out with that. This whole, starting soft, starting very, very slow has to stop for the Bengals before the playoffs. It's something that they did even last year, but my big concern is they're going to dig themselves a hole that's too big. Also, the injuries to the Bengals defense, they held up well in the second half, but they need to make sure those two things don't come back to bite them. But the Bengals have proven they can beat anyone in the league at this point. That's for sure.
Yeah, Bengals. I don't like. And I don't understand why you have to wait till the second to get aggressive with offense. It seems like we wait till the 2-minute drill at the first half, and then we come out firing in the second half. That's what it seems like. I don't understand why we keep such a weird, slow rhythm offense. It should be up tempo. They should be moving down the field. Maybe not every drive, but a lot of drives, especially after when these opening drives just do not work at all. And they were driving early on, and another tip pass turned into another interception for Joe Burrow. We know this story 1,000 times. We talk about the tip balls all we want. The reality is they're going to stay. Players are hopping up on the court much, so they're getting up in the air. There's going to be one or two times probably here very soon where Joe Burrow is going to try to pump fake it. He's going to watch a guy try to jump away and off for 5 or 6 yards because that guy loses contain on the edge because he's now airborne. So it'll play itself back. It always does in this league. Everyone's trying to get smart to Joe Burrow, getting protection. The answer is now they got to get your hands up. But eventually he's going to see that happening, and he's just going to disappear right out of the pocket like he can do from time to time. But, the Bengals, the second half was really great. And, the defense really stepped up. And we're talking we have George Allen as a practice squad, rookie cornerback was starting at boundary corner by the end of this game. Taylor Britt had a stinger. He was out for a good chunk of the second half. And, Sam Hubbard got hurt. Trey Henderson was already out in this game. So we're getting a lot of just role player guys, guys that are pretty well on the depth chart that are contributing. And it's been the biggest concern with this Bengals team is depth. How much depth do they have? They haven't invested. They haven't spent money on some veterans in case somebody goes down. And it's worked so far. Obviously, the Buccaneers kind of imploded as an offense. They were giving up passes, picks, fumbles. But, the defense is still a big part of that. And they really stepped up in this game, and that's huge for them as well. If I'm a team, especially if they get some of their guys back, which they're going to get over the next couple weeks, and hopefully they should be healthy come, first round of the playoffs, I wouldn't want to play the Bengals. They're one of the hottest teams in football, and it seems no matter what happens in the game, they're come out victorious. You could pile up the injuries, all these sorts of things. as long as number 9's back there throwing passes, knock on wood, I mean, they should be in a really good spot. We're going to knock the hell out of the wood on that one. But, I mean, that's the key to success right now. Joe Burrow has a little bit more time to throw. This isn't a great offensive line, but they give him a little time. They've got weapons all around. And, I mean, it seems like it's next man up no matter who's on the field. So, great culture that's been put together by the Bengals. If you're the Buccaneers, I mean, I don't know how else you could spend this at this point, but that it's time to blow it up. I think the Tampa Tom era is pretty much over. I mean, they're going to win the NFC almost by NFC South by default at this point. And I'm not really joking. I mean, we're talking about a team who might be, hell, 7-11 or 7-10 by the end of the year. Which which officially would be the worst record of all time for a division winner. I think the Seahawks did it at 7-9 once. But a 7-10 team, that's just god awful. I mean, there's no real other way to spin it. Honestly, they still might win the NFC. That's how bad it is. And I mean, they got everything together in the first half. They looked good. You know, Brady was getting all the receivers involved. He was getting the ball out quick. But in that second half, they broke down, a lot of miscues on offense, and the defense got a bunch of short fields and just couldn't contain the Bengals anymore. So
you're right, Cecil.
Buccaneers team's still in trouble. That's all it is.
You're right, Cecil. They would not want to play the Bengals for any team out there. They just have that something about them every time with Joe Burrow back there. And we got to thank the football god, Cecil. You came through clearer than you have all night when we're talking about the Cincinnati Bengals. That must be by design. But yeah, they're looking good I'm a little bit concerned about peaking too early, but they're looking really good down the stretch. They got some big games coming up, Patriots and Bills coming up, and then the Ravens as well. Going to be an exciting time to see how they finish out the season. Maybe possible number 1 seed, maybe not, but even so, they're looking good. Sunday Night Football, we have the New York Giants beating the Washington Commanders 20-12. This game didn't have all the action in the world, but at the end, we had a goal line stand by the New York Giants to win. The Commanders had the ball down there. There's some controversy because Terry McLaurin asked the side judge, hey, am I good? He puts his hand out asking if he's on the line of scrimmage. They then throw a flag on Terry McLaurin after the side judge says, yeah, you're good, man. That's just something that I don't know if the referee had a brain fart there or what was going on. That definitely cost Washington. But overall, the Giants played better in this game. Kayvon Thibodeau has shown that he's a pretty good rookie for the Giants. And, in the rematch of the game that ended in a tie, the Giants go on and get the win and look like they're in better spot for the playoffs, even though both these teams look like they could still make it.
Yeah, this is a good game to win on the road against a rival when you're both competing for a wild card spot. I think only one of these teams get in, and I guess at this point the tiebreaker goes to the Giants, so it'll probably be the Giants at this rate with 3 games to go. Yeah, I mean, that was a weird penalty on Terry, and then I mean, Tyler Heineke fumbling it on that, I believe it was the 8-yard line of New York, well within the red zone, way, on a goal-to-go situation, and you fumble the ball. I mean, Taylor Heineke is great, but I mean, this game kind of shows you, I don't know if I really want to build around him. But, I mean, where they are as a team, I mean, they're going to have to for a little bit. They've got to understand that. And unless they're going to go trade up for a quarterback or something like that, I mean, they're kind of in that weird quarterback purgatory that every team in the NFL honestly should dread being in. And again, there's times where I love watching him play. I think he's a gutsy player. I think he definitely has a place in this league just as a long-term franchise. I just don't think that's it. But, he's my bridge quarterback for a young rookie QB I want to develop. Or I'm, need somebody after my guy gets injured midway through a season to, help, keep the boat afloat. I mean, I'm definitely calling Taylor Heineke, and I think that's what his stay in the NFL is. And, I mean, I really want him to stick around for a while because I love watching him play, but this game is just another example of his limitations, and they showed.
Absolutely. I totally agree with Riverboat Ron saying we're sticking with Taylor Heineke. He did get you guys to this point, but you're right. There's the limitations there. They're going to be in the market for a quarterback. You just hope it's not going to be something like the Colts where they just keep on moving from guy to guy, kind of like, maybe they take the Colts former quarterbacks. Maybe they go to Matt Ryan next year. I don't know. Just that seems to be the trend. You let them finish out the year, figure it out in the offseason, and see if you can improve. And if you can't, then maybe you build the team around a little better. But you're right, the long-term plan has to be different. Giants, Brian Daboll doing a great job getting the most out of that talent, man. Daniel Jones could lead this team to the playoffs, and then they get some interesting quarterback decisions because God knows, do you want Daniel Jones to be your quarterback for the foreseeable future? I mean, he's played better this year, so maybe, but that's something I think still remains to be seen.
A 1-for-1, a Taylor Heineke, Danny Dimes swap.
Oh boy! Hey, if anyone's gonna get the most out of Taylor Heineke, it's gonna be Brian Daboll at this point. So, could happen.
That's true.
All right, Monday Night Football. The Packers beat the Rams 24-12. Pretty boring game. We knew the Rams kind of stink this year, and the Packers were just a little bit better. Baker Mayfield didn't play his best. I think it's still early in his Rams tenure. It's still a lot of the same issues that they had before, so not on him overall. The Packers ran the ball well. A.J. Dillon did leave the game with a concussion, but Aaron Jones also played well too in this game. Good win for them. They keep their slim playoff hopes alive. I would never count Aaron Rodgers out of it. According to playoffstatus.com, they have a 3% chance to win, but you win out in this NFC. I mean, you could snag the last seed just based on how other teams are playing this year, Cease.
It's true. I've heard odds as high as 12% out there. 12%, which is nothing. I still think they're way out of contention, and they got to win out for everything else to fall in as well for them. And it's just not going to happen. There's too many teams in front of them that I trust more, and even if the Packers get in the playoffs, I don't trust them. I mean, to see the NFL every year in the NFC part in the front. So, not trusting Green Bay. I love them, but I mean, there's just too much. They're on the wide receiver core, and offensive line has some protection issues. We figured out. I think they give it one more year of Aaron Rodgers, and they go from there. I mean, because Rome looked good at Lazard and Cobb are, role player guys that can help this team in a pinch, but their guys produce in this offense. It's just not going to happen. Offense, because they've got a great running game. You got to figure out a way running game. Talent too is just together, and what's it got to for everyone side there and make this work, because it seems there's a lot of ego, there's a lot of frustration, and there's go the way they've been going for who's history overnight. You talk about Jordy Nelson, all these number one goals. They had talented players. They had, the Greg J. Donald Driver, if you want to go. Big receivers had so many until Devontae left, and then they drafted the basics of the NFL while also trying.
Well, Cease, you came in clear for the Bengals in one other game, but it's gone away again. Maybe that's a good omen for the Bengals heading into the playoffs. Maybe that's something we should look into. Maybe that's some, maybe the football gods are on our side for that. But that is our Week 15 recap. Let's go to Week 16 picks, Cease, because I do think that this could be an interesting week in terms of playoff spots, in terms of teams getting eliminated, obviously in terms of fantasy football. Let's get to the picks. On Thursday, December 22nd, the Jaguars and Jets will play in New York, and the line is even. It's a pick'em game. A lot of playoff implications here, both for the Jaguars and then AFC South, and the Jets for that wild card spot.
Yeah, I'm going to think play. Defense is getting, and Trayvon Walker overall pick last year. Front seven. And, Trevor Lawrence keeps pouring it on. In the Jaguars, I'm riding the hot hand.
All right. I'm going with the Jets. I think Jaguars are the hot hand, but the Jets defense is for real this year. They are really, really good. They even hold the red-hot Lions to 20 points. So they get to stay at home. They're on a short week. The defense can step up. Zach Wilson maybe gets a little bit of confidence moving forward after playing decently well against the Lions. I will take the Jets in this pick'em game. Moving on to Saturday, Christmas Eve. This is a Christmas Eve that'll have a lot of games on it, as they don't have too many games on Christmas Day. They will have a couple. But at 1 p.m., Cecil, we'll start it off with the Cincinnati Bengals at the New England Patriots, and the Bengals are favored by 3.5 on the road.
The Patriots' offense is just very dysfunctional. So I don't know how many points they're going to score. I don't know what the weather's going to be like in Foxborough, but it's a small enough line, and the Bengals can beat you in enough ways. I think they're able to overcome a small spread on the road.
I do too. I think the Bengals have been on a roll. The Belichick factor scares me. The defense the Patriots have does kind of scare me. The injuries for the Bengals scares me, but against all odds, this team has played well down the last several weeks and down the stretch, and I think they can go on the road and use those playmakers to their advantage. And once they do, the Patriots don't have the offense to keep up. So I'm going Bengals. The Buffalo Bills at the Chicago Bears. The Bills favored by 9 on the road.
Give me the Buffalo Bills to win, and in Chicago, it's going to be. I'm gonna pick the Bears with the points in this one because they've got a mobile quarterback who's going to run around and scramble a lot. It's going to be a hell of a cold game. I think we're projecting -9 now is what the field is going to feel like. That's pretty dang cold. That takes a lot out of passing offense, and that really will play better to the Bears if anyone. So I think it'll still be convincingly Bills away, but 9 points in a game like this is a lot to ask from them. And I think Soldier Field this time of year, with a back that kind of has a threat with his legs, can be a little much to a giant blowout game.
I'm with you. The Bills win. The Bears with the points in this one. As you mentioned, I think Justin Fields' ability to run the ball maybe stresses the Bills' defense a little bit. It could be a very similar game to what they just had against the Eagles. The Eagles are a dominant team, and they kept it within 5 points. It could be the same sort of situation here. I predict maybe like a 31 to 24 score game in this one. The New Orleans Saints at the Cleveland Browns. Browns favored by 2.5 right now, Cease. Oh, we've lost C, so I will go through my pick here. I'm going to take the Cleveland Browns to win and cover in this one. We have Andy Dalton traveling to Cleveland to play a game that is going to be very cold weather, 23 degrees. A bad weather game is not something I think will go well for him. Watch for the Browns defense to really get after him, maybe score a touchdown in this game. It is not going to be an easy game for the Saints with the way they have been playing in the Browns. They've won 3 of their last 4. They are pretty hot right now, and they can get the job done. I think they're going to win and cover. The next game up, we have the Houston Texans at the Tennessee Titans. The Titans are favored by 5 points. Cecil, you're back in here. Let's see if we can get you with this Browns and New Orleans Saints pick.
Yeah, for sure. What's the spread?
The Browns are favored by 2.5 at home.
Yeah, give me the Browns at home. Saints are a dome team. Again, this is going to be another rough weather game, and take the Browns who practice in it and are going to be more prepared for it. They're playing a little better. Big question mark there, but I got to go with the home team to win and cover.
I had the same pick, see, so we have Andy Dalton in cold weather. I project the Browns defense may score some points in this one. Let's go Houston Texans at the Tennessee Titans. Titans favored by 5 points, Cease.
You give me the Titans to win and cover this one. I think this is one of those games where the Texans play hard, but I think they're just going to give it to Derrick Henry a bunch, and that'll be the game. I think they're just going to ride it out. That's what they need to do. This is screaming for let Derrick Henry just run the ball. And I think they'll do it. If they don't, this game will be a lot closer, and they can be in a dogfight with the Houston Texans. Take the air out of the ball. Don't let Ryan Tannehill do anything. The Texans can't stop the run. Just run the ball down their throats. Titans win and cover.
Oh, yeah, that's the question, though. Will Todd Downing actually run the ball this much? Even though Derrick Henry destroys the Texans every year, fantasy managers of Derrick Henry will be watching the TV very, very closely. I have the Titans winning and covering as well. At a certain point, Texans, they're not talented as a team. They're fighting hard, but at a certain point, you hit that wall. And I think they're going to hit the wall again. They kind of hit the wall earlier in the year. They came back and got rejuvenated. I think it's going to happen again. The Titans know they have to win. They need to focus, get this win so they can make the playoffs. This will, I don't say guarantee to make the playoffs, but this makes it a whole heck of a lot easier if they still have 1-game lead over the Jaguars with 2 weeks left. Feed Derrick Henry, get the win, cover. Next game up, we have the Seattle Seahawks at the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs favored by 9.5 points.
It's at Seattle?
No, at Kansas City.
This is one where, honestly, I'm going to pick the Chiefs to win and cover. Just because I just have seen nothing out of Seattle lately to make me believe that this game is going to be close. It's just the offense isn't scoring anywhere near as many points, and the defense has really been figured out too. And, this is kind of one of those Pat Mahomes, he's got to have it through these last couple weeks. They're playing at home, and it's, a very hostile place to play. So give me the Chiefs to win and win big.
Yeah, as mentioned earlier, Tyler Lockett's not going to play in this game. He's banged up. That really limits the offense. The team's already struggling. That just makes things tougher. As you said, hostile environment, cold weather. Just not going to be a pleasant game for the Seahawks, I don't think. Chiefs win and cover. The New York Giants travel to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. The Vikings are favored by 3.5, Cease.
Yeah, this is another one where I'm just like, do I ever want to pick the Vikings? As much as I'm like, maybe that it'll be okay, and then I realize I've made a huge mistake. So, 3.5 points.
Yes, sir.
Man, what a winner! Thank you for these beautiful games. What can we do? Give me the Vikings. And give me them to win and cover. I'm going for it. I just don't trust them. I don't trust them. I don't care.
I'm with you. I did think about this game for a while, but I ended up thinking, you know what? This is 1 p.m. on a holiday. There's a lot of games on at this time. A lot of people may not be watching, and Kirk Cousins plays better when they don't watch. People turned off the TV last week, and he performs the best comeback in NFL history because no one was watching. At least very few people were actually watching still.
I think Kirk Cousins would perform best maybe at a Denny's not at 4 o'clock in the morning because there are lights on and we all know how he feels about lights. But a good 8 a.m. 7:30 sunrise kind of game. No one knows it's happening, and I think Kirk Cousins would break every single game passing record in that game if he could. So, no wonder. I think he loves Europe. I think he wants to play a Europe game every week because nobody's watching, everyone's asleep, and he can just turn it on.
That's not a bad theory. I think he could play if he's in one of those games where we see in TV shows where they play in a cornfield. He's your guy. He's the guy. He's Kirk Cornfield.
Love the game.
But I think the Vikings win and cover. They're riding high after that comeback. The Giants come on a short week on the road. The Vikings had a little bit more time to prepare for this one. I would really hope they can win and cover against this one. I'm not saying they're frauds like everyone else is because I do think there's some potential there, but you got to show it this week, man. You can't go against the Colts and give up that big of a lead and then have to come back. That's really cool you came back, but you gotta judge the game on both halves, and it did not look good in that first half. Detroit Lions at the Carolina Panthers. The Lions are favored by 2.5 on the road. Cease.
Give me that. Give me that all day. Lions to win and cover. Small spread. Carolina can be scrappy, but, I mean, the Lions are firing on all cylinders. They're a hot team. I don't think it's going to be the Carolina Panthers that end that streak.
I don't either. I'm taking the Lions to win and cover. Dan Campbell's on a roll. Jared Goff is playing really well, but I think the key to this game is, as you mentioned earlier, Brian Burns is a really good pass rusher for the Panthers, but the Lions have the offensive line to kind of handle him. They've been playing really, really well this year. They're giving Jared Goff plenty of time. His pocket presence has been better since their run started. Plenty of offensive weapons. The defense is hanging in tough. They give up some points, but they're playing tough. Give me the Lions to win and cover. I think this Lions making the playoff story should continue, and it should be fun to watch down the stretch. The Atlanta Falcons at the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are favored by 7.5 in this one. We do not know the status of Lamar Jackson quite yet. That'll be something to keep in mind when we make this pick.
7.5 for a team that can barely beat anyone, regardless of if Lamar Jackson starts or not. You know what? Give me the Ravens to win and cover if Lamar plays, which I'm assuming is in this situation. I think it'll literally be like 7-8 points. I mean, it's not going to be a blowout, and honestly, it'll probably look super close like all these games do. And then they'll score a touchdown in the fourth quarter, and then some stupid, interception will happen, and they'll go up by another field goal or something. So give me the Ravens to win and cover with Lamar. If not, I'm definitely picking them against the spread.
Yeah, I'm going Ravens to win and cover. I like your conditional. I'll just leave it because I don't care that much. As bad as it sounds, I think the Falcons have been not too good. They're going to focus on the run game, and I think the Ravens will be able to shut that down, making Desmond Ridder throw. I don't think that's going to go very well for Desmond Ridder, especially in this cold game in Baltimore. And I think whether Tyler Huntley or Lamar Jackson plays quarterback, I think their running game will work against the Falcons, and that'll be the difference. So, again, maybe not the prettiest, we win by 33 touchdowns, but maybe they win by 10 points and they cover. The Washington Commanders play the San Francisco 49ers in Levi Stadium. The 49ers are favored by 7 points in this one.
Give me the Niners to win and cover. Amen.
Mm-hmm.
Niners are really good. They seem to be firing all cylinders on offense. It's the Commanders, after all. I think this is going to be a game where they really struggled against a decent Giants defense. They're really going to struggle against the 49ers. So them having it's just too much going against them. Cross-country trip, elite defense, middling quarterback for them, and, the offense of the 49ers is looking better than it did 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I'm with you. San Francisco to win and cover. Cease, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, right? Some people were telling us, the 49ers aren't going to be great without Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm on the 49ers hype train now. I'm in.
You're on the hype train? On the train?
Big Cock Brock is way better than any quarterback they've had over the last several years.
Hop on in. I got a conductor hat for you.
Thank you. I just, you know what? He's been playing better than anyone else. Do I think the league might figure him out? Maybe, but from what we've seen so far, he's the best quarterback they've had in the last couple of years. Jimmy Garoppolo, just as I said earlier, has been afraid to make some of these throws. He's missed some throws that cost him maybe a Super Bowl against the Chiefs. He's been injured. Trey Lance is injured. Best ability is availability. Brock Purdy's available right now. He's playing well. He's making throws. He's letting it rip. And Kyle Shanahan is in his bag. And when you go look at the other teams in the NFC, Jalen Hurts is now hurt for the Eagles. Do we know if he's going to be healthy for the playoffs? No, we don't know that. Gardner Minshew, I think, is fine, and we'll talk about their game coming up here in a second. The Vikings, we just talked about maybe being frauds. The Cowboys just lost to the Jaguars. 49ers, I'm in now. I wasn't in with Jimmy G, but they got a real quarterback now. 49ers to win and cover. Next game up, I don't know if I can come down off this high now, Cease, but the Philadelphia Eagles at the Dallas Cowboys, one of the most anticipated regular season matchups I can remember for both these teams in a long, long time. They always hate playing each other, but this is one they really want. A lot of trash talk going on between the two teams. Last time we had, I believe, Dak out for this game against the Eagles, or at least just coming back, I think maybe. The Eagles this time have Gardner Minshew starting. Dallas is favored by 5 right now. But Gardner Minshew's a pretty solid quarterback. I don't know, Cease.
Minshew Mania is back, baby. Get ready. Jorts and that beautiful mustache are coming out. And it's going to be glorious to see. I love Gardner Minshew, and I think they're going to play him close. That's why I don't think they're going to win in the end. I'm going to pick Cowboys to win, especially in Jerry World. They got a lot to prove. They're playing for a lot more than the Eagles are right now. And I think Gardner Minshew's going to play decently well. I don't think this is going to be, oh, my God, the Eagles' offense is in complete disarray. I think it's not going to look as good. But if Gardner Minshew is the starter, I think he's manageable, and we've seen him, come in relief or while they sat players end of last year. And Minshew makes points. He makes things happen. He made things happen on the Jaguars, and I want him to get a shot at a starting gig somewhere in the NFL, and it starts this week.
Hey, man, there's no reason why you should not have a call from a couple teams, including maybe Washington, Carolina, Atlanta, Indianapolis. There's plenty of teams you should call. Maybe Tampa if Tom retires. We don't know. Maybe L.A. if Matt Stafford retires. He said he wasn't going to retire today, but you know how things changed. Plenty of teams should call Gardner Minshew. You know me, I'm very, very big on Minshew Mania. Big Gardner Minshew fan, even from his college days. I do have the Cowboys winning this game, but Eagles with the points, kind of like you have. The thing is here, the Cowboys aren't playing that well right now. The Texans game, then they lose to the Jaguars. You mentioned the sack production not being very good right now. The Eagles still have a solid team outside of Jalen Hurts. I think everyone's Jalen Hurts is the front runner for the MVP right now, and rightfully so right now, honestly. But they're a good team because they're a good team. It's not just Jalen Hurts. I think they keep it close. I think Gardner keeps it close, and I think the Cowboys win by maybe a field goal. Las Vegas Raiders at the Pittsburgh Steelers. This will be on Christmas Eve night when you're getting ready for Santa to come down the chimney. You can tune into this game. It is the 50th anniversary of the Immaculate Reception. That's why they scheduled it here. And Steelers favored by 2.5, Cease.
Against the Raiders, I'm going to pick the Raiders to win this. I think they're a team that has more to play for. I think they've not great by any means, but I think they're a more solid team. I think they have a better quarterback, they have a better run game, and they got Devontae Adams out there. And I think it's going to probably be an ugly game, and it could come to some last minute, big catch at the end of the game by either team. And I'm not going to bank on an Immaculate Reception, but I think some goofiness will happen. Will come down the wire. And I just like the Raiders' chances with their personnel and offense more than the Steelers.
Yeah, this is one, if you have some family stuff going on for Christmas Eve or whatever, put this game on in the background. Just keep an eye on it because I'm with you. I think something wacky happens. We have the Steelers, the tough old Steelers teams. We have the Raiders teams with a bunch of grit. I don't know. This has a lot of history behind it, a bunch of AFC rivals. We think Kenny Pickett will probably be able to start. He had the concussion last week. That's why Mitch Trubisky started Week 15. Either way, though, I have the Raiders winning too. This line's pretty close. They got that weird win over the Patriots. I think maybe they can ride high off of that one, get another win here, and as you said, maybe have something a little bit more to play for than the Steelers.
Yeah, you picking toughness? You're picking grit.
I'm taking grit. I'm taking absolutely grit.
Always take grit.
All right, move on to Sunday. This is Christmas Day, Cease. We have 3 games on this day. The NFL tried to keep the schedule light, even though it is a Sunday, just because of it being Christmas and trying to see what viewers you can get. The first game will be the Green Bay Packers at the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins are favored by 4 points.
I like that spread. It's a really fair one. I'm going to pick the Pack. I'm not picking the Packers. I'm going to pick the Dolphins to win, and I'm going to pick them to cover. They've showed me enough. Last week in Buffalo, I believe in them. They're playing in their weather now. Green Bay's got to come to them, and I think this is the nail in the coffin for the Packers. Could this be a game that's close? Sure, but I think the Dolphins probably win it by, 6 or 7 points. I think that's just the margin. 4 point is a good spread, though. Vegas got this pretty well done. If it was 4.5, I'd probably, have to hedge the Packers here. But 4, I got to go with the Dolphins.
I'm going Dolphins to win and cover. That Packers defense is bad. I know the Rams couldn't take advantage of it. And also the Packers had a week to prepare for that game and everything. But I think they'll be able to take advantage. If you have a guy like Tyreek Hill, you have Jalen Waddle, Tua's obviously playing really good football. They ran the ball more than I would have thought against the Bills too. Mike McDaniels, I think, will have a good game plan for this, and I think they can win and cover. They know they need to get a win here because when you lose this game, they're probably still in a good spot for the playoffs, but you just never want to leave anything up to chance. And I don't know. I think they'll be fine. As you said, their weather, Green Bay's coming down from a freezing game going to play in 65-degree weather. They won't know what hit them. 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the Broncos and Rams. So if you want to maybe maneuver things around in your family's gatherings, maybe skip this one. Maybe don't watch the 4:30 game. Try to watch the 1 p.m. game. Try to maybe watch the 8 p.m. game. You don't really have to, but this is the one to skip because both these teams stink. Both these teams are eliminated from playoff contention. The Broncos are favored by 2.5 on the road, Cease.
Yeah, that game sucks. Let's just put it that way. Who's favored? Are they the same team at this point? Like, is there really any difference in the two of them? But seriously, who Denver's supposed to win?
Yeah, Denver's favored on the road by 2.5.
Jesus.
Russell Wilson should be back.
Right? Does that matter? And that's the real question. Is that a good, a positive, or a negative?
Yeah, I don't know. Brett Rippon looks pretty good, man. I don't know.
Jeez. You know what? The hell with it. I'm going with Baker. Give me the Rams to win. And the classic upset of two horrible teams.
Oh, boy. I mean, we're agreeing too much. I picked the Rams. Here's the thing, though. The Rams are at home. Both these teams suck. The Rams are at home. That gives them an edge for me. They're getting points. That gives them an edge for me when we're making these picks, at least against the spread. I don't know. I don't like either of these teams. It seems like the Broncos maybe have had a little bit less life in them throughout the season. Like the Rams at least got that jolt of life, not in Week 14 when Baker came in and played on 2 days' notice. I think he can make something happen. I don't know. I'm not going to watch this game. I'll be honest. I'm going to put it on the background of my family's Christmas and just probably drink heavily or something. I don't know.
I think I'm just going to tell my family, you know what? From about 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. today, this is a day about family.
Oh, boy.
Yep. And they'll be like, wow, that was such a noble sacrifice. Little will they know.
You know what, Cease? I confession time here. I hate the movie A Christmas Story. I think it's stupid. I don't think it has a plot. It's a classic. I get it. But I don't get it. There's no plot. He wants a BB gun, and then at the end, he might shoot your eye out, and then he gets a BB gun. Whatever. I don't like it.
This kid sticks his tongue to a pole. They eat Chinese food. It doesn't make any sense.
But
I'm with you.
But I might rather watch that with the family at this point, that time frame, than watch that game. I don't know. Something to consider.
If that's the Christmas movie you're picking, you're dead wrong. And honestly, you deserve to have to sit there and watch the Broncos and the Rams with no commentary, just on mute.
Oh, wow. I mean, that would be my option. But sometimes, some other people like that movie, mostly older people that won't be named on this podcast. But, no, I think you go Christmas Vacation, Elf, Die Hard. I mean, you can go any one of those classic Christmas movies. You'd be fine.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
All right, the Sunday night game is also not a great one, but it does have some playoff implications for at least one team. We have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Arizona Cardinals. The Buccaneers are favored by 6.5 on the road.
6.5. Holy crap. We're talking about a team that sucks.
Wow, okay.
I mean, let's be honest here. The Buccaneers are not good, right? They're going out to the desert, and I get they don't have Kyler Murray now, but Colt McCoy's not the worst backup in the world.
Well,
They think sometimes the Cardinals' offense looks better. Well, he's hurt, isn't he?
Yeah. So I don't know what Colt McCoy's status is. It might be Trace McSorley. I don't know how much you like about him, but we'll see.
I don't know. Trace McSorley is a special place. McSorley. Say that 5 times fast. Anyway, give me the Buccaneers to win. I'm not picking them with the points because, hell no, this offense looks anemic. They'll probably win on some stupid last-minute touchdown again because that's just the only way they can win games. So going on the road, I don't trust this team at all. I don't trust them. They're going to go out to the middle of the desert. I mean, honestly, they just leave them out there. I mean, I think that's just how the Buccaneers should end. Should be like some anticlimactic. It should be like a casino. They just take him out to the desert and say, Tom, it's over, man. Like, you're no longer in the league.
Okay.
And they just dump him out there.
Wow. Okay. Very, very, very harsh. But all right, I'm up for it. Tampa Bay to win and cover. I mentioned it before, and I'm glad that I'm being proven right. I think even before the injury to Kyler Murray, I think proven right. The Cardinals stink. The Cardinals are arguably, I mean, if you talk about the worst teams in the league, I would take the Texans to beat them right now. I may even take the Texans to beat them if they had Kyler Murray, the way the teams are playing right now. They are bad. I'm taking the Buccaneers to win and cover. I think the Buccaneers are a very average team. I think the Cardinals are one of the worst teams in the league. We'll say 28th to 32nd, whatever you want to call that. I'll take the Bucs to win and cover. I think Tom Brady has a big game. Their defense is also getting healthier as the season goes on. Vita Vea was out last week, but a lot of the corners are getting back to being healthy. I think that helps. And as you said, Trace McSorley, not the greatest passer, so going to make things tough. They're going to have to be ground focused, and coming from Cliff Kingsbury, who's more of an air raid coach, that doesn't seem like it's a good idea. So we'll see. Monday Night Football, we have the Los Angeles Chargers at the Indianapolis Colts. I'm sure ESPN scheduled this like we could see a good game here, maybe a possible playoff matchup. It is not that way anymore. Chargers favored by 4 points on the road.
Only 4? Okay, give me the Chargers to win and cover. Oh, my God. The Colts defense is okay. I mean, did they not – I don't know what Vegas sees. I guess the Chargers got to travel to Indianapolis, which Indy's usually better at. But outside of that, I mean, they don't have an offense. They just straight up don't have one. Mm-hmm. Jonathan Taylor's on IR now. I mean, Matt Ryan cannot move. Just no. Give me the Chargers to win and cover. I'm not going to talk about this like it makes any sense. It's one of my locks of the week.
Oh, boy. That scares me more than I thought. Chargers to win and cover. I always get scared picking the Chargers because I always feel like we go into the week thinking like they are great, man. Like they're a good team. They're talented. They have talent all over. And by the time the game comes around, I'm sitting there like sweating bullets about their games all the time. They always have close games. Obviously, they beat the Titans by 3 on a Justin Herbert crazy throw and then field goal. The Chargers, as you said, I don't think anyone wants to play them. As you said earlier, I don't think anyone wants to play them because I do think they can play anyone close. But in terms of betting on them and to cover spreads, they are a team I'd be the most nervous about picking against the spread. I don't know. They're a weird team like that. So I'm picking Chargers to win and cover. The Colts obviously had that emotional letdown. I think that does play a part. Now they can kind of mentally check out. I feel like they're out of the playoff.
Pack it in.
Yeah, they can pack it in. They're mentally out of the playoff picture. The players know Jeff Saturday is not going to be back next year unless, Jim Irsay just as crazy as we all think. But they can check out at this point. Oh, yeah, put something good on tape for the next coaches. That's all good and fine, but we've seen teams check out before on less circumstances. I think they'll check out. Chargers win and cover, and maybe I don't think they'll lock up the playoff spot yet, but they're pretty much likely lock up the playoff spot with that win. All right, Cecil, any final thoughts for the week?
Not too much. Just it's going to be a weird week of trying to watch all these games while fantasy football implications are going on. We have to try to juggle that while also talking to many relatives. So hopefully that goes well for me, both with the talking and not getting yelled at for watching football too much. And but for everyone watching and listening, thanks for listening. And have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and we'll see you right before the New Year.
We will, Cecil. Couple tips on that. I think it's really good for people, if you're watching with family members who aren't interested in football, it's good to get them interested based on something other than football. So, I don't know. I make up a backstory. You know what? This quarterback, he is the founder of a dog shelter in his town, and he is raising so much awareness. I'm a really big fan of him because he's such a good person. This guy over here on this team, he saved a baby from a burning building, and he is a great person. And I try to get him involved like that. It's sometimes lying. Sometimes I actually tell them real stories and they get involved. But
it wouldn't be the holiday season if you didn't lie to your family.
Just either lie to them about, hey, I'm not watching too much football. I'm, whatever. But or you just lie to them and say the football is interesting or whatever. And I don't know. That's just a key tip I have. Also, it's good if you just like sneak out during dinner, like maybe take a plate with you if it's like one of those type of dinners. Take it with you to the TV room, and like just kind of sneak out after you make a big introduction. Make it known that people saw you and like you laughed like a good laugh, but then just dip out. That's how you do it. There's a lot of key moves here.
Hey, there's a dark basement with a big screen TV and a couch and cable TV on it, and that is where my family can find me for most of the day.
Yes, and also have migraines. You go to the basement because you have migraines. So
Yep, my head hurts a lot.
All right. Well, those are some tips for your holidays coming up. My turn to remind everyone to like and subscribe to the podcast. Cecil, glad that you came back with a vengeance too. This was like Rocky 2. You came back even tougher once that internet went down, and we apologize for the issues with that. But the main thing is to say we will be back next week to recap Week 16, to preview Week 17. Amidst the holidays, make sure to, like I said, subscribe wherever you get your podcast. That really helps us out. For now, thanks for listening. We'll see everyone next week.
See you guys.